and then they cling to that like some mad dog, bug-eyed, Rottweiler, as if that's it. I've got the bone, and that's the end of it. No, wait a minute. That's just one part of it. Now you got to put the skeleton together. Now you got to add the flesh, and now you got to create a living human being out of this, a human, walking, talking human being of knowledge out of this. You just can't take one little finger bone and say I've got the whole message. It's an incredible study, and no one teacher has got it all. This is the most amazing thing. Somebody can lament that and go, oh, well, it makes the job a lot harder. Well, so what? That's what it is in all of life. We're not promising you anything. You have to do the work yourself, and you have to get into all of the subjects yourself, and you have to study what is absolutely makes, sings to you. And if you don't like a teacher, leave him. Turn the channel. You don't have to sit there and backbite him and recriminate against him and try to damage his reputation professionally. Move on and find somebody you do like.
To move on, yeah. It's the honorable thing to move on.
But these people are no honor. They have no integrity. They have no honor, and they really ultimately have no love for the knowledge. They have love for power. That's different. And as we said at the beginning of the show, power is another one of those father figurely things. You see, if you don't want the father figure openly, power, the desire for power, is yet another surrogate king sort of archetype.
And ultimately an empty pursuit, ultimately.
Well, of course, because anyone seeking for greatness, it's already an affirmation of their littleness.
Now, I believe, for the first time in our history, the elite are, they're openly talking about eradicating 80 to 90% of the world's population, as if they don't hardly need any of the people anymore. It's like they're chomping at the bit, and it's time to fully implement their new order now. Why are the elite, do you think, so blatant with their agenda now? Is it because they yield extraordinary weaponry that they haven't been able to access until now?
But I don't believe that. I don't believe that they're being anything more obvious or sinister than they've ever been. That might be true in certain cases we can talk about, but these people have been psychopathic throughout the ages. On the crimes that can be laid at their door are without number. If you take just British history, the Battle of Culloden, tell me where the horror, like I said, the Spanish Crown going over and doing what they did to the Native American Indians, the rape of Africa, the rape of India, it's untold. How can anybody look at the history of the past, even going back, a short period of time, and look at the horrors, the First, Second World War, a bunch of people just sitting around a table decide to have this war. Or are they starting wars in order to disguise another crime that's taking place over here? They create a war just very much like what 9/11 was. So it's all a matter of scale. The idea of all the various Holocausts that have taken place, the Armenian genocide, the Ottoman Empire and its massacres.
Didn't you mention that Holocaust means sacrifice or something?
Yeah, it's Yiddish for burned sacrifice. Well, that puts a new slant on it. You see, but all down through history, I can list so many murderous campaigns that have taken place, some of them known to history and others far less known. The White Russians, the slaughter of the White Russians in Russia by these psychopaths, Lenin and Stalin and all the rest of them, and the untold brutality. The slaughter of German soldiers by Roosevelt, Eisenhower and Churchill. Mass death. So these people are just reeking in filth. If anything, they can't hide it because they are psychopaths. Expect a psychopath to act psychopathically. It's just that we think that they're more.
Virtually every president is related to European royalty. We know that.
Absolutely, and I'm glad that now recently this kind of information has been in fact coming forth, because people would not believe. And I've been doing this for years, and people just look at you with blank stares. They don't believe it. So it's an incredibly laborious and not altogether successful, but it has its credible successes as well, of the laborious amassing of the evidence just to get your simple point through to the brains of people who are under a complete state of hypnosis. 3/4 of the work we have to do is to source and reference things that should be bloody obvious to anyone who had a brain cell. So you've got to go through this incredible laborious process, you see, just to what would actually common sense, a simple reading of history. I mean, no bullets, no buckles, no muskets were found at the Battle of the Boyne. People have taken metal detectors down there. I know people who've done it. It's a historical fact that at the very place where the great armies are meant to have fought, and the great spectacle, you could go there for years and not even so much as find a belt buckle or a musket ball. Now, what on earth is that all about? That's because it was a ritual. But try getting that through to people. They just can't understand it. Try telling people that the Constitution of the United States of America is a complete joke.
Well, the elite have been at this for a long time, and I believe their time is coming to an end. I believe that enough people are waking up, and I'd like to get into, when we come back from the break, we're going to take a short music break, Michael, and we're gonna try and get to the root of what drives them to be this way and what their ultimate goal is on this planet. We'll be right back with Michael Tsarion on the TNS radio show, Free Truth Show. See you soon. Welcome back to the Free Truth Show on TNS Radio with our guest, Michael Tsarion, author and researcher. Before the break, we were going over the vast amount of damage and bloodshed that these elites, so-called elites, have devastated humanity with throughout the ages. And there's a line, an anonymous line that I always quote, and it gives me courage and to fight these people and wake people up to their crimes today. And that's: throughout the ages, light was your weapon, and you struck at the darkness each time. Light is our weapon, and for me, when I say light, I mean goodness, overall goodness, that I think it's inherently born in us, that's suppressed and subverted and corrupted over time. But Alan Watt makes a point, actually, and I know you admire his work, I certainly do, that at the end of his deprogramming video that he encourages people to watch, he says, who do you think these people are? That these elites have managed to hold sway over, thousands of years of history and remain intact with their bloodlines. Who do they think they are? Who do you think they are? Who are they? And he did indicate on that subject, but he didn't actually go any further. But I know you do, Michael. And given that you mentioned that all the resources of the Earth must be utilized to create a mega technology, with the John Dees of this world, are they being conned themselves into destroying themselves? You mentioned the macrobes, as you say, other races, but by getting them on board with the promises of life extension, which would explain the elite's obsession with eugenics, so that they could simply pick up the pieces and get a nice new planet to boot.
Exactly. Any of these Machiavellian people, these disciples of bloodshed, the black nobility, they always have a cause. And their atrocities that they've perpetrated throughout the world are both obvious, meaning the ones we were talking about, colonialization and the wars, and it's also the more subtle ones, the fundings of the Louis Pasteurs and the Marie Curies and the vaccinations, you see, and all these other more subtle, the education system. They have 101 different ways of doing it. And their psychopathy is violent because they're violent. And it goes back to the heart of what I was talking about, selfhood. These people are the most self-murdered. A psychologist would say, yeah, they're the most malignantly narcissistic. They're the most psychopathic or sociopathic. And therefore, we have become acclimatized to it because we've learned to identify with that kingly figure. We identify with them. We identify with the master. The master-slave is a relationship. It appears on paper as an antithetical thing, as a struggle. But it's not really a struggle. If you actually look much deeper, you'll find that there's a symbiosis there between the parasite and the host. And it's only, the solutions only come about when that's realized and the host then, strengthens his own immune system to get rid of the parasite. But yeah, the John Dees and their bosses and their descendants operate in incredibly psychopathic ways. And it's because they themselves are under a form of hypnosis. They believe in a certain ideal, a certain worldview, right? Call it New World Order, or like Francis Bacon's Utopia, or Walden 2, or the Orwellian dream, the perfectly ordered, regimented society, no crime. Yeah, they create the crime and then they tell you how to get rid of it. Right. So they have these epic, monolithic pipe dreams. You see it in every city.
And that's being exploited by higher beings, do you think?
Oh yeah. Well, that ties into my work on Atlantis. That's right. These are people, again, who are disciples, or they're actually descendants. We all are descendants of an alien strain. This is what my work goes into with that theory. And that is to try and explain this movement down through time, as you say, to develop a super technologies that were known to the alien race before the great Earth cataclysms. And this is one of the reasons, not the only reason, but it's one of the reasons why